Yep, there you go.
All right, I think we should be good. In
Yep, there you
Okay, is anybody out there? All right, welcome to Tech Something. This is a new stream that I'm starting with my man Gregory Salazar from Science Studio. Now, it has been such a long time since I've been live streaming for you guys. I got a new setup and everything. We've got the Panasonic G7 now for the lens attached to the camera. So we've got the bokeh. While I
go.
think Greg, yeah, I think you're just using like a webcam, yeah.
Yeah, it's just C920. Yeah, I gotta get my cables. I gotta plug them in so that I can run them not off of battery because those cameras would last probably 20 minutes on a stream. So.
So do not fear, we'll fix that up, ladies and gentlemen, with a future reiteration. We'll get Greg a G7 Japanese edition. You know, I've got the G7.
Japanese.
Yeah, because I've got the G7 Japanese, right? And it doesn't have the option to change to English. So,
Oh,
yeah, I've got to
oh,
navigate through all these kanji, and I'm terrible at reading kanji, but I got there in the
oh.
end. But the thing is, the G7 in Japanese is like half the price.
I had the G85, which is basically the G7 just with internal in-body stabilization.
Yeah.
But I sold that. I basically switched full Sony like a couple years ago, and I have the A6400, which would be good for the live stream because it's a smaller camera, it's not super heavy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the one I'm gonna get the adapter for, so I can just plug it into the wall and not have to worry about power.
Okay, so we're going with tech news. This is what's going to be about. Tech Something is the new stream name. Hope you guys are enjoying this live stream so far, even though we haven't done much of it.
Haven't done anything yet.
It's just been so long, so I've got to get back into actually streaming really actually. Now, you know, I look around and I've been seeing these titles lately on YouTube, and it's mainly from like small YouTubers, right? Like YouTubers who are just trying to make some videos and stuff. I'm not going to mention any names of the channels and stuff, but I look around and you're like, Intel is finished. They are done. Like over. And I'm like reading these titles and these thumbnails and I'm thinking, man, like sounds like Intel's going bankrupt tomorrow. Like, whoa, what's the case here? So I go and check the balance sheets, the financial results, the quarterly financials, and Intel's doing better than ever. So I'm sitting here scratching my head like, okay, I'm seeing these videos and then I go and check the financial results and they're two completely different things. So what we got right here, we're going to actually go through two. Well, should I say, let me restate that, Greg. We're going to really, actually, really go through these sheets
Uh-oh.
right here.
My
And
accounting glasses.
yeah, so that's it. You got your counting glasses on. We're going to go through some of these, not balance sheets, just quarterly results. So first off, we'll start off with Intel, right? They've done the best quarter they've ever reported, apparently. And when we look at the breakdown of it, right, they're up 8% versus last year's quarter. And then year over year, they're not doing too well. Year over year is up like 2%. So they've only grown a little bit. But this is the thing, despite them having an inferior product, like with the CPUs to AMD, right, they're still doing pretty well. Like, I was actually
I think,
surprised.
yeah, there's a disconnect, I think, between what the end consumer sees and what actually goes on in when you start digging through the deep, heavy financial data of a
Yeah.
company at the size of Intel, nonetheless. So, it's something that a lot of people won't be able to grasp because people don't take the time to go through, uh, quarterly reports and annual reports and things like that. We're just seeing snapshots of stuff like that here. Like you can see snapshots of the income statement on this link, and they're trying to give you an overview of performance
Yeah.
from quarter to quarter, 2018 quarter, the same quarter in 2019, 2020. Yeah, it's just, people just don't realize that these companies have so much more invested in so many other places that they'll never see because they're
Yeah.
not in those spaces. We're the end consumer. We're a part of the pie, but we're a piece of it nonetheless.
Yeah, so well, look at this. So we got Mobileye. This was something that was interesting. When I looked at these results, I was like, okay, what is Mobileye? It's like AI. That's Intel's AI division. Now look at the growth there. That is huge, right? Versus 2018. So they're up big. So that's where they're focusing a lot of this stuff on. Like that's the real, in my opinion, that's the real reason why they're doing GPUs, because they want that compute from the GPUs. They don't really care about gamers. And like I've seen some news and reports about Intel's first GPU was going to be mediocre. I even heard that way last year before they even released it. And it was more like just a test pilot. But you can just see like Intel's just going to take that tech and go all AI, because that already 880 million and what you're seeing there, that's a huge market. That's already like once you start growing that enough, it's just going to transcend gamers. And so the other markets, let's have a look. Data centers like still up a little bit, I think, from DCG's that data center group, and
Yeah.
that's looked like it's doing well. And then Internet of Things, the Internet of Things group is apparently up as well. So it looks like all their data is pretty much up, despite them, from what I'm seeing with these YouTube videos, despite them being finished tomorrow. And I'm worried because they lost the all those old BIOS updates. That was so like that really did it for me. Hey, like when they took off all the BIOS updates on their website,
It blew, man. I hated that.
yeah, like
That sucked.
and this is the thing, some of their X58 boards, especially the DSO2
Hmm.
and also their X79 boards, they were pretty nice. Like the problem with Intel's motherboards back in the past was they released these really crap models and they got it so wrong. And so that sort of like ruined the image of the higher end stuff. And so that's why when I said to Creative, right, they came on board as a sponsor, I said, guys, you've got to get your budget stuff right from the get go. As soon as you get the budget stuff right, spreads good word of mouth, then you can work on the high end stuff. But Intel sort of did it wrong on the motherboards. They were like, yeah, we'll release these really nice high end boards and just forget about the budget market. And so people were getting these low end boards. And yeah, I tried updating the BIOS for one. It just bricked completely.
Good luck. Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I was like, well, actually, maybe they did people a favor by taking that BIOS off the internet. So,
Yeah,
so you couldn't brick your BIOS anymore, you know. So
you can speak to that firsthand.
yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's look, the Intel financials though, they're looking pretty fine. I don't think Intel's going anywhere anytime soon. And so
Yeah, no,
basically
of
like
course not.
yeah, you see all the hype and all the hype and all the fanboyism running around, and you look at the numbers and you're like, yeah, they're doing fine. So we'll go to AMD, which has reported a pretty big quarter, and we'll pull this up on the big screen so you guys can have a look here. But AMD's up, so their revenue's up quite a bit, and of course that's for Zen 2, right? And they're doing pretty well. And the one thing though that does worry me when I look at these, like it's great to see AMD's growing. I'd say a lot of that came from the CPU market, right? Because when I looked at it in depth, their mobile, so like they've got way much all this text here, right? So much text, and you the scroll down to the breakdown of the numbers, right? And okay, it must have got lost somewhere. Basically, they broke it down into divisions, right? And what we saw here was here it is here, computing and graphics. So they actually like their graphics division went down, I believe. So their graphics isn't doing too well, but their CPUs are. They're embedded in semi-custom as well. You can see the drops here, like on the right-hand side. One gained, that was the CPUs, and so the other one dropped. And so, of course, people can say, okay, console sales slowed down. Maybe they just didn't get any more semi-custom orders in. But their balance sheet was actually surprising. Like, it was looking really good. But their stock price, have you seen AMD's stock price lately?
Not lately. No, I have not been following
Okay, I'll pull it
AMD.
up for you anyway. It's like $50. And the PE ratio, that's the price to earnings ratio, that is through the roof. Like that is higher than Nvidia, way higher than Nvidia and Intel. So basically the market has priced in AMD to have like growth like you've never seen before for a tech stock. And so whether they're going to deliver that is actually a it's a thing that worries me because their CPUs are definitely getting the growth, but are their GPUs getting the growth? So that's like one thing you're saying here, and you're like, whoa, okay. What do you think about that? So with AMD, what
I'm
do you think?
looking.
Like when we
I'm
pull,
looking.
yeah,
Go ahead. Yeah.
like when we pull aside all like the fanboyism and stuff, do you think AMD's graphics cards are going to come in and make a bang? Do you think they're going to come back and take that? Because that you check those Steam surveys,
Yep.
and the Nvidia, dude, the
All
Nvidia,
green.
yeah, the Nvidia
Yeah.
cards are just like, whoa, like, just. I was gonna do
Yep.
a hurricane, but I got a headset on, so the, that's what's going on. Like that's legit what's going
It
on at
was
the
the
moment.
case 3, 4 years ago when the only thing competing with mid-range market was right the RX 480, RX 580 cards. The 5500 and XTs, I don't expect will upset that balance much, just because the outlook from reviewers in general wasn't splendid. And this actually is something I don't know if I've talked about in a video before, but when I had my meeting with them at CES this year, 2020,
Oh, did you wear a suit and tie?
I
Did you wear a suit and tie?
dude, I was in like like sweatpants
Okay.
and just this rugged shirt. Like I met the CEO of Nvidia in sweatpants. Like I
Oh.
just don't
Okay,
dress
because
up for stuff like
I've
that.
got like a chameleon or whatever suit. It's a flashy one.
Oh,
Yes, I was gonna get an
oh.
RTX logo on it, and next time I went to an Nvidia event, it's gonna be like RTX on.
You should wear that to the AMD press event. That would be
Oh, with
the ultimate
RTX
troll.
on logo. Be
Yeah.
like, yo,
Just
yo,
walk into
hey,
the AMD press suite with that on.
AMD, what are you getting RTX on, guys? I'm
Dude,
waiting for this.
I will personally pay you $1,000 if you can get a picture with an RTX shirt on with Lisa Sue. If
Ah,
you can
done,
do that
done.
for me,
I'm done. All right,
I
yep.
will hand you $1,000.
Okay, chat, you've heard this. Hey, chat's heard it. I'm putting Greg on the spot. All right, I'm gonna wear an RTX
I
on
will,
shirt, and I'm gonna go take a photo next to
yes,
Lisa Sue. Done.
I will pay you $1,000.
I already got a selfie with her, man. It was pretty hard actually. Like she has
I
bodyguards.
know.
So she
Yeah,
has bodyguards and stuff
I
at all
believe it.
times. Um,
Jeez.
yeah, like I think it's easier to get a shot with Jensen than it is with
Yeah,
Lisa.
he was just walking around his we visited their headquarters in uh Palo Alto, it was Silicon Valley.
Yep.
And he was just walking around. He was wearing the same leather jacket he always wears,
He
just walking
did.
around,
He must
shaking people's
have. He
hands,
must have
you
like
know.
20 copies of that
He
jacket.
has to. Like
Yeah.
the entire closet is just that same leather
Yeah.
jacket. It has to be.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's a
No.
scratch on this one. Better change it over.
Yeah, it's moving. And what's funny is like, it's crazy because these people are worth he's worth hundreds of millions, if not billions. I think I looked him up,
I
he
think he's
was
worth. I mean, we check him in the stock price. I think
pretty
he's worth a
sure he was
bill. Like I'm pretty
over
sure
a
he.
billion.
Yeah.
Pretty sure. Yeah. And so he, you meet this guy and you're like, okay, in the back of your head, he's running this multi-billion-dollar company, and he himself specifically is worth billions.
Yep.
And you're just talking to him like any other human being. Like
I did get that
it's
vibe. I did get that
it's
vibe from him
really
too.
weird, dude. It's like, there's nothing really. I mean, yeah, the guy obviously made really smart moves in life to get where he got, but he's just a human being, like
Yeah.
it subconsciously like idolize and like memorialize these people who are worth so much money because of the things they've done in life, or maybe the things that were handed to them in life.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you know,
They're just normal. They're
we
a
all
person. Yeah, they're a
yeah,
person, man. And
yeah.
it was funny with him. Like, I got to admit, man, I've been to all different types of press conferences, but he's like when you go to a Nvidia press conference, like you can feel his energy, man. Like I got to
Mm,
admit, that guy's a boss on stage. Like Jensen
yeah,
is top presenter. Lisa
yep.
Sue's
And that's
coming,
what they're
like,
doing,
but
selling.
Lisa's like right up there second. She's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, and
So
I think that I mean, they have more to prove, right? AMD, well, maybe not now, arguably,
yeah,
but they, especially when they were first announcing this stuff, like when Zen first came out, and now with Zen 2, they're making a new name for themselves. AMD is no longer they're still the more affordable option, but you're not really compromising much by foregoing the Intel chip instead. A few caveats there, arguably, like having a
yeah.
IGPs, probably
I
one of the only differences. But Yeah, I mean, they had something to prove, and they did, and that I think in and of itself is building their confidence as a brand for the end consumer at least, you know.
Well, that's the thing. I got down to testing out the CPUs, and this was what struck me. It was like the 9400F versus the 3500X. If you bought either of those CPUs, you didn't make a bad choice at all. And so
No.
it just struck me as like it's getting so tight now. The competition's getting really good.
It's
And
already that way in the graphics card market,
yeah.
and that's what I was getting at when I was talking about meeting them at CES. So one of the managers, whatever directors of the Radon division, he was talking about the pricing structure and how they were trying to compete one on one with what the green team is offering. Of course, they never say Nvidia at these little meetings, and this is literally just me and my brother
Yeah.
and the two directors. Like that's it. That's the meeting. It's just us two, and they'll go through multiple media outlets and do the same kind of spiel. But I asked them specifically, I said, why are you choosing to not undercut from a price perspective your competitor, much in the same way you are in the CPU division?
Yeah.
And his response, in a nutshell, I think he would agree with this, is we don't need to. There's no reason to undercut because we're almost on par with them in every aspect. We're on par with them in a performance perspective in the mid-range and lower range markets, and we're almost on par in the efficiency department. We're not quite there yet, but we're close enough that people aren't going to bat an eye to it. So we don't need to be cheaper. We can be, competitive on a price at a certain price point, and that's all we need to do. And we're happy with sales as they
I
are.
do,
Enough people are
yeah,
buying them.
I do and don't agree. Like their actions are kind of contradictory towards that.
That's what
Like that's
and
the
that's what I was asking
actions.
them. Like,
Yeah.
what do you do? Like, yeah, like what really is your goal here? Are you just trying to compete or are you trying to undercut? Because you're really competing when you do both, but your approach to it is affecting the end user ultimately, and it's not really making sense how you guys are competing because you're not releasing the high-end cards. According to them, they could, and they're just not doing it yet because the vast majority of people
Well,
don't buy the high-end cards
there's a
first,
few.
which is the opposite of what Nvidia does. But yeah, it's kind of it's weird. I
It
don't know.
it is. That's what I was gonna say. It was like the 5600 XT. That was the desperation on that VE BIOS update was real. Like
Yeah. Oh
the
yeah.
the day before I did my review and I did all my testing and then I'm making the video and I get the email and it's like, hey, we got a V BIOS update. I'm like, oh, okay, like probably just a couple of percent here and there. It won't really
Yeah.
matter. And then yeah, you're getting 12% uplift and then it's
Yeah.
matching
10,
my yeah,
15%.
but then it's
Yeah.
matching all my overclocked numbers. And I'm like,
Yeah.
where's
Yeah.
your overclocking headroom? It's all gone
Yep.
now. And
No, that's true.
the power efficiency goes down because you're maxing out the card kind of thing. And I just like this is not a good look if you're not trying to beat your competitor in price performance, right? That was like a desperate move to beat Nvidia at price
I think
performance.
they're really emphasizing, and I don't know. I mean, I know why, but at a certain point, you have to ask yourself if it's worth compromising raw performance for the sake of being more power efficient. And at the end of the day, if you polled 1,000 people and asked them which they would prefer, a card that was 10% more powerful or 10% more efficient, I guarantee for the same price, I guarantee you 999 of them at least are going to pick the 10% power bump or a performance bump
Yeah.
because that's what you actually see. You might see a few bucks here and there increasing your power bill, but that's going to be so whitewashed with all the other crap going on in your house or your business. No one's going to, no one's going to bat an eye to that stuff.
I'm gonna throw you.
So
I'm throwing you the curveball right now. You know what the curveball is? I love this, man. This
what
is
is
a DSLR
what is
setup.
it?
I can throw
Yeah.
curveballs. I can throw them at chat too. Boom. And
You and that Boca.
so here's the curveball, right? Would you prefer an RX 480 or an RX 580?
For the same price.
Well, yeah, even for the same price.
I mean, at the end of the day, if I
Like
had to
just
pick,
for
I'd probably pick.
yourself, no resale. No, we're not gonna put the resale argument in
Uh,
there. It's just for
okay.
your own
Well,
personal use, 24/7. Like you are a hermit. You are playing World of Warcraft, 13, no, 16 hours a day, KFC, on the desk. Which
yeah,
GPU again?
I would want the 580. That's the one I would look for.
Okay, I'd go with the
Yeah.
480 because it's going to uses it's like 10% performance difference, but it uses up
Yeah.
so much less power. Like it's ridiculous how much less power it uses up. And so that's why I know that I prefer the RX 400 series over the 500 series because if
Yeah.
it was tuned better in terms of its power efficiency curves. And you see that with the, like, I did the recent video with the 9900T versus the
Yeah.
9900K. It's over
Yeah.
threefold the power consumption
Well,
for
yeah, but that's
33%.
because the frequencies are totally. I mean,
Yeah,
the T is like in the threes, like the mid threes, I think.
but that's the thing.
It might even be low
The
threes.
T's just doing this all day,
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's
throwing
you could say that about
curveballs.
anything. Would you rather have a car that's more fuel economic or a car that's way faster? I mean, like it's subjective, but I think that
Yeah,
when you buy a graphics card,
yeah,
you want it to be as good as it can be from a performance perspective, and I mean just like raw frame rates more so than an efficiency. You don't buy a graphics card because it's efficient. I mean, yeah, it's a nice trend, but ultimately, what sold Pascal, despite it being way more efficient than Maxwell, was the price to performance. I
yeah.
didn't buy a 1070 because it saved me $10 a month on my power bill, because at the end of the day, I was paying $250 more for a 980 Ti 2 years ago
Yeah.
that was already consuming more power. So the money I'm saving by getting the newer architecture that's more efficient, you know what I mean? Like it just to me, it's kind of a catch 22.
But
Like
here's the kicker too. I would throw in another, like, man, I'm just throwing curve. You should just call this tech curveball. Just tech curveball, man. I'm just throwing them all day.
I
So
just feel like
yeah.
yeah.
So here's the thing with efficiency. It actually is king, and I've spoke about this in the past. The reason efficiency is king is because it spans everywhere, right? Guys like me can then use cheaper power supplies, cheaper cases, you name it, in builds. We can then save money there. Consumer can save money. But Nvidia or AMD, if they're making the more efficient graphics card, that means they're making the cheaper GPU. So the more efficient that is, and they can price it the same as the competitor, more profit.
James does say you can always undervolt though. I know you can't undervolt. What was the undervolting headroom on the 580? Not much, right? Not compared to Vega. It was
Which one? The RX
maybe
580. You can.
the
Yeah,
580.
you can
Yeah, but
undervolt.
the margins weren't anywhere near as good as they were with Vega
Yeah, it
56.
was Vega and also
You could undervolt
5700
what 20,
XT.
30% on Vega, yeah?
Yeah,
You would save heaps of power doing that.
yeah,
But I never thought twice to undervolt the 580 just because I didn't look at the 480 and say, well, I could be saving 20 watts, but like it's just going through the motions to do that. It's to me not something that most people are even going to bother calculating because you have to decide if it's even worth the investment of time
yeah,
in the first place to do. Um, and yeah, efficiency is everything, right? Like you said, if you have something that's going to consume hundreds of times more power for a 10% performance bump, then obviously that would be a just
yeah.
terrible trade-off. But when we're talking give and take, a dollar here, a dollar there, 10 watts more power, 10% performance bump, or if you factor in like, okay, I'm going to be saving $10 a month on my power bill, so I can spend $10 more now on better component. Like nobody's doing that. Nobody is like shopping on Amazon and saying, okay, all of these efficiencies add up to this, so I'm saving this much money here, so I can buy a better CPU cooler. Like nobody's doing. Frankly, the general consumer
That's
probably
the Tech Yes City
isn't.
viewer is, brother. The Tech Yes City viewer is going, yep.
Of course, there's always the exception, but I'm speaking for the general public here.
I love doing.
People
I
in the
love doing
consumer,
it. I
the
love doing
desktop
that.
space, I just don't see it. I don't
When
know.
I was, this is the thing. When I was a teenager and I was building PCs, I would always weigh up everything, man. I'd spend like a
Yeah.
day, 2 days even, researching my next gaming rig. And it was like calculated on spreadsheet. And then I realized, dude, you could have probably just gone out and worked 2 days straight and just made up all the differences and bought whatever, YOLO. And that's why now it's just like, for me, it's like work, 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 just keep going, keep going. And then, when Jensen releases the next fix, I'll just go buy it. No, but here's the thing. I was going to add on the GPUs, right? This is the true thing. I had a computer come back with an RX 470. And this is like with AMD versus Nvidia on the GPU section, it's a big thing. Gamers Nexus, actually, I like that he talked about it a lot in depth, where he's pointing out all the driver issues. I had a guy bring a PC back, man. His RX 470 is working fine. I always test my rigs before I sell them. I show the person they're up and running. He brought it home and he's like, dude, the monitor's flicking. I'm like, what's going on? That sounds weird. He's like, oh, I hooked two monitors up and it's flicking. And I'm like, what? Can you show us a video? Show me a video. I'm like, oh, bring it back. We'll check it all out. I went through every single setting. This thing would just not work with two monitors properly. And I was like, oh, I had to change it to an Nvidia card. Guy was happy, went home. Um, that's like, you got to understand though, that all that time I've wasted now. And so, as me as a seller, what do you think that's going to do? Do you think I'm going to be suddenly inclined to go, yeah, I can't wait to put an AMD card in this machine, and if someone has problems, I've got to go and fix it? And it's not my problem. It's not my fault. I haven't done anything. So there is these driver issues, and they do exist. And I'd say it's mainly with the multi-monitors. There's a problem I have with the capture cards. Have you used AMD cards on over capture cards?
No.
Okay, so
And for the reasons of encoding,
there's been a
basically
problem
alone.
for the life of these cards. I mean, for the life of AMD drivers, there's been this card where if your capture card, say for instance, you've got a 4K capture card, but it supports 120 hertz 1080p, it'll Nvidia's drivers will automatically detect that the monitor is not capable of 120 hertz. This monitor's a 4K 60, and I use it for benchmarking. But AMD graphics will be like, the drivers will be like, oh, this capture card supports 120 hertz, so we'll boost 120 hertz out to your monitor. So I'm in the middle of game, and it automatically do it. And so I'm in the games trying to benchmark, and I'll drop it from 4K or 1440p to 1080p, and then my screen will go black, and I'm like, oh no. So then I got to go back to the other computer, navigate through the menu to change it to 60 hertz from 120, and it's just all that stuff like that. Those little things that don't get mentioned, and even in my recent video where I took a look at the RX 480, it was having these artifacts, and people are like, yeah, that's just the problem at the moment with Fortnite. But if I sold a PC with that RX 480 as it stands, it's probably going to come back. People are like, oh, it's artifacting while I'm playing Fortnite. And that's not my fault. I've done nothing wrong. Legit.
Yeah.
I'm throwing curveballs, but this one, the dude hit it, and it's come back and smacked me in the face. And that shouldn't be
Yeah.
happening.
And that's your reputation
And I
on the
don't
line
even
too.
have a helmet on.
Yeah.
So I'm getting KO'd here. I'm getting KO'd. So that's the reality of it, man. And I've actually got a really good video coming up too. I got this Acer PC. How this is just completely on the other side of the fence though. And I'm actually going to message Nvidia directly and say, why are you allowing this crap? I've got this Acer Nitro, and I got it traded in. The guy's like telling me his FPS is suddenly dropping in Fortnite, and he didn't buy this PC off us. He bought it from JB Hi-Fi, I think it was, and it had one stick of DDR4, like 2133 megahertz memory. He's like, oh, why is the FPS dipping? I'm like, that's probably why. But actually, I got it in, and you know what the problem actually was? Is that Acer, at least on this Nitro, are doing their own proprietary drivers, and they haven't updated them for like 4 months, 5 months for Nvidia cards. So I've put an RTX 2060 in this thing, and I can't even install the drivers.
Jesus.
I'm trying to force it in. So if anyone in chat knows how to get around that, let me know, because I'm making a video on it now. And I'm going to be like, look, don't buy an Acer desktop gaming PC. It's
I've noticed that with a lot of, I mean, what Acer, not specifically with Acer,
their
because they have
laptops are usually
laptops and
good.
stuff
Like
too,
their
right?
laptops, monitors, they're all good. But
But
this is
I've noticed that laptop vendors will do stuff like that. They'll use their own proprietary drivers to restrict hardware configurations.
yep,
And I'm pretty sure what's going on is they're cutting deals with certain companies and limiting compatibility so that they can have more, exclusivity in that particular product. And that's what happened to my XPS when I tried to upgrade my RAM. Dude, you think it's just laptop memory, right? Low
yep.
power DDR4, whatever. Swap out the DIMMs, it's good to go. It would not even detect. It wouldn't even boot with a RAM stick that was not one of their ordained
Oh,
holier than thou modules. Usually it's from HyperX or Corsair. It was really the a vast majority of the ones there. I tried using a team group module. No, doesn't matter if it's SK Hynix, Samsung, whatever.
yep,
It's just the vendor itself, and they'll do that just to restrict what consumers shop for.
yeah,
And it's just the deals they cut with the hardware vendors to build these laptops. And I guess that extends to a degree into desktops. And they're using software to block
yeah.
those updates and compatibilities. It's ridiculous.
Oh, this is pretty bad. Like, yeah, this Acer Nitro is almost a dud. Like I'm at the stage where I'm probably just going to change the motherboard, and that's
Yeah.
it. Like it's oh man, it's a headache. Like it's a big headache. I can go get a H310 for like 70 Aussie and just not have any of these troubles. But I'll make the
Yep.
video and tell people, look, don't buy an Acer desktop gaming PC. Here's why.
Yeah. No,
And
I did
I'll
the same thing. Yeah, and I didn't
mm,
know. I was thinking you could just pop any whatever DDR4 into a laptop. It should work. It works on
yeah,
desktops. Why would it not work in a laptop? But because it's got a freaking Dell logo on it, or
yeah.
insert your favorite, restrictive brand here, they're not going to support it.
Well, here's
Like,
the thing. This guy's Fortnite probably wasn't playing properly because they've done a massive update and he's got
yeah,
drivers that are 5 months old. So
yep,
yeah, what
yep.
do you?
And that's up to Acer to update
Yeah,
those drivers. And Acer, what Acer could give a crap? Like the
oh,
companies
yeah,
that
already sold it.
are
Yeah,
actively rolling out software updates, yeah, those aren't the same companies that are
yeah,
selling these big bulky
yeah,
hardware. Like this just it's not. There's a disconnect there, and then
yeah,
they're never gonna address it.
yeah,
Dell's never gonna do it in a BIOS update or whatever. Like they're not. There's no need to. Like you said, they've already sold it. They've already made their money. What's the
yeah.
point?
That's it.
You know?
It ain't coming back because it's not faulty. Apparently, I'd love to
Right.
define the lines. I'd love someone to define the lines on what's classified as faulty. My opinion is it doesn't work as you intended it to work. Simple. Whether it's software or hardware, if it doesn't work as you've intended it when you bought it, actually, yeah, that's a good thing because software changes over time.
Here's your curveball.
Yeah, yeah.
Is
Throw
doesn't
it to me, brother. I'm
working
ready for it. I'm gonna catch it.
doesn't working as intended. Okay,
Mm.
so do you expect the average consumer to know if his or her laptop, let's say, is performing the way it should in games?
Yeah. How do you know? Yeah. Where's the lines?
How would you know? I mean, like, unless you actively looked at YouTube videos like ours, or got a friend to buy the same laptop or whatever, a different laptop with the same specs. Like, how would you know if you're getting the true performance you should? How would you know then if you're software limited, or if there is some kind of hardware conflict? I don't know why that would pass R&D, but whatever,
Yeah.
or QC. But how would you know? And then to what extent would you allow performance degradation to the point where it would still be deemed acceptable and okay, and yeah, we're not going to refund your money, and
New
take our
business,
product
new
back.
business idea, dude. I'm making the company is chat with me as well. Are you with me? Hardware check. .exe. Bang. I'm gonna get
Yeah,
government
and just
funding.
put it through,
Yeah.
push it through the
Yep.
ringer, and see
Yep.
how it does.
Ever.
And if you're not getting what you should, the numbers don't add up.
Yep.
I mean,
You can
yeah,
title
just like
to a
just
yep.
like all in one performance suite. Yep,
Title to a refund after that. Yep. Hardware check. Who's with me? That's it.
yep.
Done. So I was going to actually we're going to go back to the Nvidia financials now. These are down. Like these are down big time. Like down 30%. I mean, it is as they estimated, and that's why their stock is still fine. People are like, well, these numbers came out and they're terrible. Why is Nvidia stock still up? Like their
Yeah,
stock,
down 24%
yeah,
in
but
revenue fourth
their
quarter.
stock is
Yeah,
like their stock's
for a
just
reason.
sailing. It's like, hey, if anything, it's going to start going up again. What's going on here? Basically, people would probably be wondering. The basically is they estimated it, so it's basically right around where they estimated it. So they said, look, it's going to be down, etc., etc. And that's when they said, look, things are going to get messy, and that's when their stock crashed. Is when they estimated it to be messy. And so
Mm.
what we're looking at here is actually, yeah, the reality of, and the good thing, I like these notes. Like this is probably actually the least amount of clutter in financial notes I've ever seen. It's just like, yep, this is why it's down.
Yeah.
Cryptocurrency GPUs essentially flooding the market. That's how much of an impact the used scene is making. And people think used hardware is a joke. Take a look at these quarterly results right here. Used hardware is not a joke. This is how real it is. It has the
Which would you say is making a bigger impact on things, just in the consumer space? Because I know Nvidia does a ton of other stuff with AI and whatever, and those divisions really aren't pertinent to this discussion. But
yeah.
would you say that the used market from the influx of mining cards made a bigger impact on sales, or the fact that RTX cards were quote unquote overpriced or just pricier than previous Pascal offerings? Which would you say made a bigger
I mean, it's a
impact?
combination of both. Like they say there, recent deteriorating end market conditions. That would be the market not adopting RTX as well as they did the GTX 10 series. Like, there's
Yeah.
a bit of both, but I remember speaking to some board vendors, and yeah, the crypto boss was doing some proper damage.
Mm.
That was huge, man. Like, you've got guys selling 50, 100 GPUs at a time. And that's just all
Yeah.
flooding out in the market, stopping someone from going to a retailer and buying a new card, which is then
Yeah.
uh, giving these companies profits. But the
Yeah.
used market,
Yeah.
when you buy that used card, it's taking away from a new sale. And that's the reality
Yeah,
of it. Like,
companies. Yeah, people don't
mine,
realize that, but that's it. They're not making a single dime. I mean, you're not even really proliferating
yep,
the brand image because it's the same card. You're not adding more
yep.
to the market. You're just kind of reallocating it. You're moving it from one place to another, and they're not making a dime off of that. And whether or not you're
See,
reporting the
they
sale,
tried to do it with
the government isn't
RTX.
either.
Well, RTX was their way around of saying, look, we're not ready to offer 7 nanometer, we're not ready to offer more VRAM on the cards, etc. Here's what we're going to offer you, RTX. And they didn't do that good of a job. Like, as I've said in the past, man, if they introduced RTX to like CS:GO and all these games that people are actively playing on multiplayer, they would have done so much better with their sales. But they didn't. And I mean, I tested out the Minecraft thing. That was impressive, but I'm not even sure if it's out yet. Like when's this beta coming out? So RTX has the potential to be really good, but they didn't do a proper job of it. They did just a bang job. Like, that's what we call a bang job. That's what they did.
I will
A
say,
bad bang
so
job too.
the metrics that we're looking at, because I didn't actually look this deep into Nvidia's in particular. I was looking
Yep.
more at AMD's and Intel's. But so if you see at the top where it says Nvidia today reported revenue for fourth quarter ended January 27th,
Yep.
2.21 billion, down 24% from 2.9 billion a
Yep.
year earlier.
Yep.
So they're comparing quarter to quarter.
Yep.
You're right. But if you scroll down, so where it says fiscal 2019 summary instead of Q4 fiscal 2019 summary.
Oh, the whole
Fiscal
year?
2019 summary
12 months
says
ended? Yeah.
revenue year over year up 21%. So
Yep.
we're looking at a quarter here and extrapolating that over the entire
Well,
year.
yeah. So I was
But
gonna.
they're just comparing end
Yep.
of year sales essentially. I mean, whatever you want to call quarter four,
Yep.
um, because their fiscal year ends at the end of January. But
Yeah.
yeah, so revenue for the year technically went up from the previous year, from 2018, up 21%. Operating expenses also went up.
Well,
Income went up 19%. Net income went up 36%.
yeah. So basically,
So,
what happened was in that crypto mining phase, it was the opposite. It was overinflated numbers coming in.
mm,
So they did these massive years, and the stock was growing like all crazy. People thought the mining boom was just going to continue forever. I remember that, but then it went all of a sudden bust. So yeah, they're going to be up versus 2018 for a lot of reasons, being that 2018 was the year when it all went
was
down.
the year when it was
Yeah,
flooding.
and
Yeah, yeah,
then
yep.
the ongoing effects of all this stuff is still flowing out there. So it's just been an absolute mess. It's been an absolute
I
mess
wish we
for
had
graphics
I
card.
wish
Like,
we had multiple years to see here instead of just 18 and
yeah,
19. Give
yeah.
us a bigger
Well,
picture.
look, if chat wants us, we can go in the next episode. We'll go more in depth if we want to have a real good discussion. But I think everyone knows the underlying figure here is that they basically created their own mess with the cryptocurrency boom, and
Mm,
now they're basically pulling off the band-aid. They got to deal with the consequences, and that's all these quarterlies are. AMD as well. That's why we saw their
yeah.
graphics cards weren't doing as well as well. So it's the same thing, and that's the GPU market right now. Of course, I think 7 nanometer, what we see with RTX 3080 and stuff, and that is really going to breathe some new life back into the GPU market. Better efficiency, more power, more VRAM. That's going to span down. Hopefully, that spans down through all their SKUs. Then they're going to be back on top again. People now have a reason to want to buy a new GPU.
But see,
So,
that's the thing though. Like when I asked AMD point blank. I
yeah,
said, why like why not why not lower MSRP for your mid-range cards so that you can better undercut? And they kept saying that we're content with what we're at. If we saw a problem with pushing inventory or moving inventory, we would lower prices accordingly, like any other company would, right? If they wanted to still be profitable or at least get rid of the inventory they're sitting on. So
yeah,
even though AMD sales for those cards might be lower than projected, or to us on the outside might not look as good,
yeah.
obviously to them they're okay with it because otherwise we'd be seeing pretty heavy price cuts or we'd be seeing more PR or something. Like they would do something to get it going. These companies have billions of dollars in resources for reasons. Like they've done right things in the past to get where they are.
Yeah.
So I mean, even though these numbers are what they are, they're content to an extent with sales, at least in the consumer graphics card markets, because they're not changing anything about the current market conditions, apart from the immediate responses like when when Nvidia launched the RTX 2060 price drop of $30 or $50, whatever it was.
This,
You know,
but here's
those
the
are
thing.
impulse changes.
But here's the thing about that. Like, if people are like, oh, they've dropped to $50, I'd say like that's the RTX 2060 dropping by $50 obviously was a good thing for the market. But if you bought an RTX 2060 for $350 as soon as it came out, all you've lost is $50 in a year. Like that's really not
Yeah.
bad on a new product. You've still got a
Yeah,
card.
no, yeah. I
So
agree. Yeah, no, and that's something I never even addressed in my review when I talked about that price drop when the
yeah,
5600 XT launched. I never even mentioned that because to me, $50, I mean, yeah, in a $300 card, $50 goes a lot further than in an $800 card, right? And no one's going to really blink over 750 versus 800.
yeah.
I shouldn't say that, but it's a smaller percentage. Um,
But if
but
you but
I
if you had
never,
the
yeah,
option, if you had the option to lease a pretty powerful GPU for $50 a year, would you? I would.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, because you're
just saying.
gonna because if you use the card, let's say the projected lifespan of the card is 2 years before it becomes obsolete, a new card comes out. If you see it's at $50 a year, so you're spending $100. If you bought the card at $500, by the time the new stuff comes out, the card's only worth $300. Then you actually saved $100 by choosing to lease,
Yeah.
right? So it's all about what the card depreciates to. And that's why most of the time leasing like a car is not good because it's all sunk money. But it depends on how much you drive it as well. And if you get in an accident, there's a lot of different variables. But there are cases where leases make sense,
Yeah.
especially for your business. But yeah, I agree. If it was that cheap, that would make way more sense to me.
There's the flip
Because
side
first
though.
off, you're not going to get, your graphics card's not going to get in a car wreck. It's not going to depreciate way more than it already, is projected to do so. Like it's not as risky in that sense as a car either, right?
Yeah. I actually had a computer like unless it blows up, I was gonna say unless it goes and
Yeah,
I
then
I
crash
actually
your
had
power supply.
yeah, I had an old I didn't mention this in the last week. I had an LGA 775 literally go up and smoke. Like the MOSFET just started catching fire. I
It was an LGA 775,
Yeah, and
wasn't
so I had to pull the power cable out straight away, like instantly. I just
it?
wish
Oh
I was
God.
thinking I had the camera pretty close. I was thinking about just grabbing the camera and being like, "Woo!" going YOLO, but I'm like, yeah, not my studio. Like I can't risk this burning down or whatever. So I haven't seen
Yeah.
that in a long time, man. Proper fire in a computer. This was like fire. It was sparks and it ain't like burning, and I was like,
The
oh,
smell. That's the
everything. It
first
was
cue.
like
You always smell it before you see it.
yeah, so
Like
I've got the board
something's
still here. I
burning.
might try and boot it up again and see if it wants to start firing up and get on video, but it's still pretty risky. I'm not too comfortable doing it. Um, yeah, there's that. So anyway, back to GPUs quickly. I think one of the best cards of all time is going down as the 1070
Yeah.
because
Yep.
that was like the
Because of the
resale.
1660
Yeah,
Super,
the
right?
resale
Yeah.
value of it's still insane, man. Like you bought one of
Yep.
those in when's it 2016? When was the 1070 launched?
16, 15 or 16. Yeah.
2016. I mean, it's like yeah, 4 years later, it's still worth a lot of money. And so the
Well,
1070s,
yeah. But it has depreciated. I noticed, and someone else, I think it was Scatterhole, he pointed this out, but I had
mm,
talked about it in my 1660 Super video
yeah,
about how that card, because it performs so close to a 1070 already, and that the efficiency differences aren't staggeringly different.
yep,
There's not a big enough argument there, I think, to forego one over the other, other than the fact that the 1070 would likely be used. But because the 1660 Super now exists at a $230 price tag, which was already what the 1070s were going for used around $200, those 1070s are going to have to go down further in price to make sense for shoppers who are considering both used and new cards. Because why would you spend $200 on a used card that performs almost the same as a $220 new card that's
exactly. That's been
slightly
my
more
argument too.
efficient? Yeah, yeah, and so they have to go down, and sellers are adjusting. People are saying, "Why would I buy this instead of this?" Okay, well, I'll give you $30 off. There you go. That's literally market. That's like
But this is
Microeconomic market correction.
but this is the big thing. It's always been the case, man. Like in the history of GPUs, VRAM and the number attached to that.
Yeah.
Oh, so 1070 has 8 gigabytes of VRAM. So
Yeah.
therefore people think it's better than a 1660 Super automatically. And so that's why the 1070 is still commanding such a big premium. Is because it's the
Especially at its new price point.
yeah, it's the
Yeah.
first 10 series
At
card that has
160,
8
170.
gigabytes of VRAM. And people see
Yep.
that and they're like, oh, 8 gigabytes of VRAM? Nvidia 10 series card? Like, oh my God, I got to get this. Like, somebody,
Yeah.
please. I need my
Have
1070 right now.
you if you could save, let's say Nvidia offered two, and this wouldn't surprise me because it's Nvidia. Let's say they offered two 1660 Super SKUs. They offered one with 6 gigs of VRAM at, let's just say 230, and then they offered another one with 8 gigs of VRAM at 250. Let's make it really like. Would you pay the $20 to $30 premium for an extra 2 gigs of VRAM and a card that is really only good for 1080 to 1440p gaming anyway?
I wouldn't personally, but I would for the
Right.
resale. There.
Okay. Okay.
That's
For
like,
the resale. Okay.
yeah.
Because of the seller or
Yeah.
the buyer tendencies. Okay, I see what you're
Yeah.
saying.
So that's
Yeah. No,
like,
I
yeah.
struggle to saturate 6 gigs. Like it's tough, especially in 1080p. But
Yeah.
people buy these cards for 1440p too. Granted, the resolution jump from, if you just counting raw pixels, from 1080 to 1440, nowhere near as big as from 1440 to 4K. When you're playing games in 4K, you're going to use a lot more VRAM on average because of just how much more graphically you're having to drive. Way more pixels to drive. And when you're talking about adding all these different in-game settings into the mix, it's just going to compound the issue. So it's what the cards are really marketed for. What resolution, what games. It's user based, yes, but I
I,
think that argument, if you really look into the fine details, 6 to 8 for that caliber of card,
yeah.
not as big an issue as I think some people make it out to be.
I don't think chat's pointed it out yet though. Like I just noticed now, like you got a green wall, so like you're low key Nvidia shill, dude. Like that. That's that's like serious shilling right there. You got a green wall back there, dude. That's
Oh
low
yeah, they
key.
sent the paint. They sent the
Yeah,
paint, and they sent a stack of hundreds, stack of
that's it,
Benjis.
man.
I didn't even bother counting because I mean it's way more than
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but yeah, we got the
Oh
next
my
topic
God.
up. We're going to talk about the next. I think we'll probably just break it at this last topic because we've been rambling on. If
Sure. Yeah.
people are enjoying these live streams, and then we'll go to chat as well. Is the coronavirus, right? This is something that's come in. People are talking about it, and here's the thing: I wasn't, as we talked about this a little bit before the stream started. I got no idea how this is going to impact the tech scene. I was talking to Marco over in Taiwan. He said Computex could be delayed because of this, which is like,
Mm.
oh, damn, because I love Computex. I think it's so good.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
they're saying, yeah, like
That's
all these things, like tech products could be, the production of them could be slowed down. This could force up prices on the retailers' sides. I mean, we're getting news of Apple already expecting a I've got all these different articles up, which I didn't really sift through.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say that
Okay.
we'd mentioned this before we started streaming
Yeah.
that there are certain companies in our space, in the PC hardware space, that have, and I won't bother to name them because I think it's really
Yeah.
affecting most of them who are or exporting from China, let's say, or
Okay.
developing in China. Is the coronavirus is extending into those sectors as well, where I'm getting emails from these companies, case manufacturers especially, I've noticed,
Yep.
where they're saying, yeah, we're going to have to delay this because of the Wuhan coronavirus, and we're looking at maybe a month out. So where it would have already been here. Now I have to wait till March
It,
because I'm not sure what's going on at the border, but they're not letting goods be exported as easily, or maybe the workers aren't there to even export them themselves because of how serious it is in some parts of the country now.
but it is
You know?
it's also Chinese New Year. Like this break, it depends on the companies and stuff. I heard some people can take like a month off around this period too. So like
Yeah,
things
that's
can
true.
slow
Yeah.
down around this period anyway. But the apparently it's not as
They're
bad
specifically
as
citing this. I mean, they're citing, like, they're saying it's
yeah.
because of Corona. Like, if it's
Mm,
Chinese New Year, they just say it. They just say CNY, whatever. We
yeah.
always expect in our industry to not really hear from many companies during this, like, 2 to 3 to 4 week time span.
exactly. Yeah, I got
But
told
yeah,
like
no,
don't
they're
contact
saying
us.
coronavirus.
So that's it.
Yeah, they're like, just screw off. We want to have our vacation.
Yeah,
The
it's
one vacation they get a year, a lot of them.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's just like
big
look, we
deal.
want to take 6 months off instead of the 1 month.
I kind
It's,
of don't blame them, man. Take as much as you can.
but here's the thing: the SARS is apparently worse. The mortality rate was like 9.6% on SARS. That's crazy. So SARS was really bad. Corona's looking like it's 5%, which is still pretty bad. So it doesn't look like it's
Yeah,
not as
it
bad.
depends on what the government's reporting. Like
Yeah.
if because I know there was a big discrepancy apparently between what the government was reporting with the infection rate
Yeah.
versus what I forget was an independent. I don't know if it was some other World Health Organization, whoever was saying that upwards of 90,000 people apparently have already contracted it or have been diagnosed
Wow.
with having it.
Yeah.
So the government might be underreporting these, and this has happened a lot. Like this
Yeah.
is, governments always do this because they don't want to make their countries look bad,
Yeah.
So it's probably worse than it appears to be on the news, although there is quite a bit of fear mongering around. This is not the Black Plague or anything like that, but it's affecting many industries right now.
I mean, we're taking care of our viewers right now, keeping them indoors, making sure they're watching this live stream. And that's what, when SARS was around, I didn't even know about it because I was too busy playing World of Warcraft. And yeah, like this is truth, man. It was I didn't even go outside. I'm like, yeah, I got nothing to worry about here. Um, yeah, just
Uh,
eat, yeah, just starve for a few days or whatever. It's not a problem. No, I didn't starve, but like it just went down to I'd go down to my local grocery store. That was it. Like play video games, go to work. That was it. So I wasn't in the tech scene, so to know how this impacts things, but I can see how it's going to impact things in a great way for the used market too. This is the other side of
yep.
things because prices go up on the new parts due to supply or whatever.
Well,
Used price market suddenly becomes more
is
attractive,
it a
and
good thing or a bad thing, right? It depends on who you are, too. If you're a buyer, then you would look at it as a bad thing, at least bad timing. But if you're a seller,
yeah,
you're in the
selling
market
used
to
tech,
get rid
yeah,
of, offload some parts. There's always going to be somebody
that's it,
willing to pay the higher price because they don't want to wait 6 months for the prices to go back down. It's
yeah,
why RAM companies still sold RAM when DDR4 and even DDR3 to an extent was extremely
oh,
expensive during the price fixing era.
yeah.
So, and there were multiple price fixing eras, not just the most recent one. So,
I
the
think with the
time value
recent
of money.
one you got to say alleged price fixing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Excuse
yeah,
me. I'll ignore the huge class action lawsuits, blah blah
alleged.
blah blah.
Yeah,
God, like it's one of the, yeah, you're right. I mean,
yeah,
legally you have to say that, but
yeah.
I
We
mean,
don't
come
care.
on, most
Yeah, yeah,
most.
yeah. Who's watching this live stream? Tech Curve Ball.
Hey,
That's
but
it.
I don't want to get sued again, so
Yeah.
I want to stay.
So yes,
I'll play it safe.
coronavirus. It's bad, but if you're an introvert, you generally don't have much to worry about. Just stay indoors and do what you keep doing, playing video games, and you'll be fine. Best
Yeah, you never
advice.
go outside.
Yeah,
Yeah,
never go outside.
zero.
That's just,
Right.
this is where we can rejoice in being
Keep
hermits.
your windows
That's
closed.
it.
Breathe the
Yeah.
same oxygen.
Yep. This is where we can rejoice. So,
Think about
yeah.
it though. I mean, you're gonna if you don't expose your immune system to things that can build immunity over time, like if you're not around a lot of people who have colds and stuff, your risk of contracting the same cold that they have goes up because
Yeah.
you haven't exposed yourself and trained your body to respond effectively um, to those environmental stimuli, So
So yeah. Okay. So we got here AMD's Big Navi GPU launch. We'll quickly go over some of these titles. It's only rumors, so I'm not even bothering pulling up on the big screen because it's just rumors. It's basically spanning from. Apparently, there was a certification of an unreleased GPU not known to the database. People think it's the Big Navi. Gordon from PC World, he did get like you can expect a high-end Navi at CES. He got that. So from Lisa Su, so that was really good. Have you met Gordon? Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, top
yeah,
bloke. He's really
it's cool.
he's really
Smart
cool.
guy.
Yeah, he's really
That's
cool.
smart
Like I
too.
love talking to him all the time. And so he got that answer out of him. So what do you think's going to happen? I hope this is not the case. Like is this what I see happening? AMD releases Big Navi, and then Nvidia comes in with 3080, and then just instantly like steals the show again. That's what I foresee happening with this. And it's
Sure, maybe they'll compete on a price level as well.
I just
They'll do the
I
same thing they did with
because
GTX 2060.
well, this is the thing, right? We look at those financials. We know for a fact 7 nanometer Nvidia cards have to come soon. They have to anyway. It's checkmate. They have to. So when can you expect them? The sooner the better. Basically, I think that March outlook for 3080 is a possibility. 3070 and 3080 get launched in March or April. I think April is looking like the solid date. So you'll see RTX 3000 series in April. That's my guess. Just putting that out there. And when you see that, that's going to come in with big performance gains, new architecture, 7 nanometer, more VRAM, bang, 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 the whole 9 yards, and a curve ball on top. But I hope that, well, Big Navi, I mean, we've got 2 more months really for this to come out before it just gets squashed by Nvidia again. So releasing a GPU with a 2 month life essentially in its competitive scene is not a good move. RTX 2080 Ti has been out for so long already. It's
It's
crazy.
still over $1,000.
Yeah, exactly
Yeah.
right. So is this card even going to launch? The launch could be very close now. Well, it's like, why do AMD keep doing this to themselves? They need to really get the CPU money, put it into the GPUs, and make the GPUs super competitive again. They need to
I
take it.
tried, dude. I tried asking them. I'm too like I put them on the spot more than once. I did, to the
Because
point where they might not even ask me to come back
well,
next year.
well,
But
here's the thing. Well, here's the thing. Here's
I
the thing,
had to
right?
ask
I
them.
mean, but here's the
What are
thing,
they
right?
doing?
But here's the thing. Sorry to cut you off. Here's the
They
thing
did.
with it. So we look at the CPU market. If AMD gone and been stagnant for a couple of years, it doesn't matter. Intel's been stagnant for 5 years. So they could
Yeah.
just use that now. They can use that profit off the CPUs, pull it into the GPUs hardcore, and start micromanaging their company. If they want Tech Yes to come into AMD, I can sort things out for them and say, look, let's micromanage your company properly. Just re-release Ryzen 4000, 5000, 6000 series for the next 3 years. Same thing, just clock bumps. And then we
But
can put
they
all that money into...
told me. I mean, they told me that they're doing it this way on purpose, and that they're not having. I asked them also very point blank, are you having any manufacturing issue? Are you running into any manufacturing constraints with respect to uh, better, the higher end Navi cards? And their answer was no, and that they're doing this essentially the way that they projected to do it, the way that they intend to do it, which is the complete opposite of how NVIDIA does it, which I think is also interesting. It's two different market approaches here. NVIDIA always releases the best cards first, with the exception of usually the upper end TI card. And
Yeah.
then they trickle down. They'll start with like the 1080, and then they'll work to the 1070, then the 1060, then the 1050, or they'll kind of mosh those up. But
Yeah.
they always start from the top and work their way down. The reason why they do that, it's smart because less people are going to buy the more expensive cards. But if it's the only card out, you might be able to persuade some of the people interested in the lower end cards to buy into the higher end cards so they can get it sooner. So you're trying to, it makes sense. Companies do this all the time. AMD is doing it the opposite way. AMD is saying, okay, well, we know a vast majority of our market prefers the cheaper, more affordable, frankly, better value cards, like the 5600 XT. I think is a pretty good value. 5500 XT, you could argue that yes or no, but the 480 and 580 are still really compelling in the used market. So I'm not sure the viability of those. But at the end of the day, they're choosing to approach this the other way around, from the bottom up. And I think they're waiting. One of two things. I think they're waiting either for NVIDIA to do something first, which we don't know how soon that's going to be. But AMD's content as it is, so maybe they don't even do it until, long after whatever. NVIDIA, what's the new architecture that NVIDIA's
RDNA.
are
Navi.
that NVIDIA? No,
Oh,
no,
Ampere.
not NVIDIA.
Ampere.
Ampere, yeah, Ampere, yeah. I was thinking Volta the whole time.
Oh.
Yeah, but they going to wait for before or after, because they know that those are on the same playing field from a node perspective, right?
This is the thing.
So
This is the proof's always right in front of your eyes, man. It's always simpler than you think. Their GPU division is pushed to the brink, dude. They keep being on an edge, and this is that V BIOS thing proves that, right? AMD's always on this edge, and they make these rash, sudden decisions. And I mean, look at Radeon 7. Why did that even come out? Let's be real. Like, why was Radeon 7 even released? It was It was just
People were complaining that there was a lack of competition in that space,
it
I
was
guess.
honestly, man, they would have lost money on that. They would have lost
Oh
money in
yeah.
developing
Oh
that
yeah.
card, releasing it. It was a poor decision, just period. And
Yeah.
so it just are they doing it for a statement or are they doing it to get competitive? Because if they get competitive, then they need to pull a lot more R&D into their company. They need to get some real talented figures. They need to get something ready. Because Nvidia, the reason why they're able to do RTX 2080 and then 2070 first, or and they did it a little bit different with RTX, but say for instance 1070 and 1080 and then the 1080 Ti later and then all the other cards trickle down. The reason they're able to do that is because they've got things ready in advance. It's ready to go. They can plan it all out in a way that's going to make them the most money. And that's AMD just seems like they're on an edge. They've got to get this out. Otherwise, all that R&D is wasted. All that tech's wasted that they put in.
Yeah,
And
it's
so,
also a proof of concept though. I mean, because you have manufacturing constraints on a node level, right? Because your yields are going to naturally increase over time
yeah,
with most things, and that's why the CPU market is the way it is. Usually, when AMD releases, like they release the Ryzen 7 processors, great, but then when you're talking about yields for two different chiplets, then your yields are slashed heavy because now you have to worry about two instead of one. And so you work your way up to those bigger ones because you have to sort those things out before you start selling them. And NVIDIA has those kinks, like you said, worked out so they can offer the higher end cards first, with arguably the exception of the really high end stuff, like usually the 80 Ti cards or the Titan equivalents
yeah,
come a bit later. But the whole thing is, yeah, it really all comes down to manufacturing constraints and how quickly you can get on top of things
yeah.
to get those products to market the fastest without horrible yields, because you don't want to pull an Intel and not have product and have your freaking prices skyrocket as a result.
But
Nobody wants to be
Intel
that
just
guy.
don't care, man. Like they just
They
don't.
don't.
Yeah, it's like,
It's
look, if things are going. Look at the. They're probably just going to point people to the quarterly revenue and be like, "Yo, we don't care. Like, look at these." So,
Well, it's because they still have so much more invested in the server space, and AMD's been trying to penetrate that market so much lately. And I think a report came out recently saying that they hadn't been able to do that
yeah,
with the Threadripper with their chips, and that is wonderful news for Intel because Intel makes a boatload of money in that space.
yeah.
People, I mean, you ask people what kind of CPUs are running in their servers, almost all of them are going to say Intel, and that's
Yeah.
just how it is. It's not like we prefer it to be that way. It's
There's a
just
reason
that's
for that
how the
too. Like
market
I've
is.
spoken to a lot of businesses, and some I've been doing my own research behind the scenes. And the businesses, the reason they do that is because platform stability, man. It's so
Yep.
underrated. People don't talk about it enough. If something works, you don't need to fix it. That's the bottom
Yeah.
line.
Epic.
And
So,
so
sorry, keep going.
it's worked for them over the last. Their business is going healthy. Everything's going well for them. They just like, okay, we've used Intel for the last 5 years. We're going to keep using it. And that because they just don't care. Like things are going smoothly. Why change to another architecture and another manufacturer? Even though you could get better value for money, things could improve. They probably
Mhm.
see it as a risk. And so that is a big thing at the moment in the B2B sector is platform stability. I know
How many
Intel's
data centers are still using the older chip, older Xeons, right? I
yeah,
mean, do they even see the need to upgrade given what they're doing, you know?
it's the thing of
So,
if you have once in a blue moon crash that will cost you a lot more business than
yep.
having whatever 10%, 20% more power consumption. But the thing is, once you clock down those Xeons to those lower levels, they're much more power efficient. As we saw with the 9900T, the differences that we see as enthusiasts with Ryzen 7 3700X versus 9900K, those differences are so minimal in the server industry that it's getting to a stage now where people just don't care a whole lot. That's the
Mhm.
bottom line. Yes, you're getting more bang for buck out of AMD, but when we put it to the server level and power efficiency, it's a lot less of a difference, especially power
Mhm.
efficiency, and that's still a big driving force.
And
And
someone
so,
pointed out too that a lot of software suites were built around Intel
yep,
architectures back in the day when
there's that
Intel
too.
had
Yep,
almost complete control of that
yep,
space, and they arguably still do.
mm,
Yeah, I mean, why would you overhaul your entire, setup
yep,
for the sake of switching to a company that is kind of the underdog in that space right now just to support them? Like nobody in their right mind would do that. It would
yep.
make that kind of financial decision just to just to do it, just to be a good guy. That's
Plus
not
we
gonna
go
happen.
back. I mean, plus you can go back to all the other like things as well. Like Intel's now branching out into RAM, into SSD.
Mm.
They're getting this whole ecosystem going on. So that's something that they're really that trip to Korea that I did that really opened my eyes to the point where Intel didn't really care about the CPU too much. They were focused on everything else but the CPU, and that's what I was finding when I went to Korea. That was the bottom line with that vlog. That was people love that vlog too. It's just so different, and that's what we're going to go through with this live stream now. Text something. Let us know, guys, in chat what you think of this new live stream. I got my main man Greg, and because I need a co-host, dude. I can't do this solo. I can't live stream solo, man. I just
It's tough.
you well
Yeah,
you
you got to be able to give and take.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You need to have a bit of time to bounce off each other, get different ideas. I don't see everything straight. Like sometimes I miss
No,
something.
I love
So
it when you challenge me and vice versa. I
yeah,
like that because not enough people disagree in this industry,
yeah,
and there are several ways to approach PC builds, several ways to approach articles that we even the
yeah.
ones that we've gone through to explain the things that we see.
Mm.
Usually, if we're pointing out different ways of seeing things, they're both kind of right because there are several factors that go into why things
Yeah.
happen the way they
It's
do.
always.
You know,
I
so
think a lot of
fresh
my
take.
viewers as well. They love the street opinion. They're just the down to earth, what's
Yeah,
going on the streets too. I'm always going to give that opinion too, regardless of
yeah.
all the theoreticals and stuff. So let's go to chat now. We'll answer questions for a couple of minutes, and then we will see you in the next tech videos. What have you got planned next too? What's your next video you got planned?
Next video is gonna be it's actually a guy who is trying to sell a system. He's got it listed on Craigslist and
Yep.
Facebook and a few other places. And he messaged me on our Facebook page and asked, "Hey, what's wrong with my ad? Why is it not selling?"
Yeah.
And I took a look at it, I took a few notes, and I told him, I said, you know what? I'll make a video on it, and I'll break it down for you because I bet a lot of people are in your boat or have been in your boat or potentially will be in your boat down the line.
Yeah.
So just kind of like an informative how to sell a PC type video,
Yeah.
but it follows a similar trend to what the scams and ripoff videos do. So with the green screen and all, you know.
Yeah,
So
that'd be good. Though I'll definitely hit that up, man. I want to see your opinions. Have you been
um,
flipping some PCs or?
I have not recently. There is the one that we built for the eBay Blitz video
Trying
that
trying to get this
I
to
want
work.
to sell.
Sorry.
Oh,
I
what phone is that? What is
That's my wild.
it
Oh,
looks
dude, I've had this for years. I gotta get a new
I
phone
was gonna
actually.
say what is
I.
that?
You can see the ad. You can see the ad for the Pixel 3. I'm looking for a Pixel 3. Like I want to buy a used. I
Ah,
want to buy a used phone. So
I'll sell you my Pixel 4.
done. How, can you give me a discount?
I give you that
Tech
Tech
Yes
Yes
special.
discount.
Thanks. See
The
that?
Tech
There
Yes
we go.
special.
Got my next phone lined up already, fellas.
I'll bring it with me to Taiwan or whenever we meet again. I'll bring it
All right,
with me.
cool. I'm gonna blast the brightness of these RGBs. Oh no. You see, yeah, okay. I got my RGB lights. I'm doing a video on it. It's like these
Hmm.
tiles, and they covered up gyprock. Like I took
Oh
my,
yeah, yeah.
you see my ultra wide monitor back there, and actually we'll go to chat. We'll stop talking about my ultra wide monitor because yeah,
You posted that on Twitter though, right? That
yeah,
was the video that you
we
posted.
said we'd answer some questions. So I got a GTX 1080 Strix for 600 New Zealand dollars. Is that worth it? No.
What is it? What's
Ten,
the conversion rate? Let me look at
so
the
it's almost
conversion.
400 Aussie. Like New Zealand dollars like almost 1 to 1. So you probably could have picked up a card off eBay for cheaper,
New
man.
Zealand dollar to US dollar is point 0.6. It's 0.65 to one.
Yeah, so if you put that in, it's probably what like 350 USD or something. It's not that
It's
good of a
almost
price.
half.
So I gotta be straight up and honest. So
Yeah.
yeah, okay. So I'll go through some of the other questions. If you see one that you really want to answer, is Vega 56 and 64 still good for 220 to 300 euro? I'm guessing the 56, 220 euro. Yeah, it depends on what country you live in with Europe, right? Because sometimes the GPUs are a lot more expensive than they are in Australia or US. So 220 euro could be good depending on where you live. If you live in a country that's got good GPU prices already, then no. I've never been a big fan of Vega. I'm going to put that out there. I think it was a power-hungry card that just didn't really deliver.
Unless you undervolt.
Yeah, even then you're losing performance. Like you're going to lose performance, you undervolt.
Yeah,
So
a little bit, but you're saving. You're like this goes back to our efficiency versus performance argument. I
yeah,
think the trade-offs there arguably are worth it because you're only losing what maybe 5% performance
that's true.
for the sake of saving 15 to 20%
Yeah,
depending on the card in power. So
yeah.
and temperature. I mean, remember though,
Oh,
TDP
I can't.
ties into that as well. How hot your cards get under load. So
I can't
um,
scroll back chat. I'm losing the chat. Hold on. So, am I going to LTX this year? I haven't been contacted. Luke contacted me to join Float Plane and then just ghosted me. It seems to be a thing. I get contacted for things from numerous people and then I just get ghosted. It's probably like, hey, there's a second choice. We got the first choice over here. He's come back to us. See you later. So,
wait, why would yeah? But that doesn't make any sense.
I don't know,
That is
man. It's just I got like I don't know. I'd go to LTX if I was invited. Yeah, that'd be really
if you
cool.
want me to set up an email with him, I
Okay. I mean, you're
probably
going to
get you over there.
LTX, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah, I'll be there.
Okay. So is the
No.
5930K worth retiring? No. It's still a good CPU, man. That's a really good CPU.
Hey, just a
Six.
good question here. Someone's asking about. Sorry, were you done with your question? I didn't know if you were
Oh no,
finished
that's
with
a
it. Or...
really good CPU. That'll like you overclock
Oh.
that thing, it's gonna handle even like a 2080 Ti at 1440p and stuff. I know that for a
Is that an
fact.
eight? That's the eight
Six
core,
cores,
right?
eight thread. I think
Six core.
5930K is six cores. I think.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
6 core, but it had more PCIe lanes. It
Yeah,
was
it's still
40,
alright. It's
four,
still
or,
fine.
yeah, I think it was 40 PCIe lanes.
Yeah.
Someone asked about why the general question was why are used Core i7s sometimes more expensive than their new than what they were new. I think the gist of that question, if we'd summarize it, is why do Intel CPUs not depreciate as much as they probably should?
It's because they're using that i7 sticker, right? You go to a retail. The reason behind it is they go to a retailer. Like I'm going to give some examples in Australia, and I'll convert them into American terms. So you go to Best Buy. We got Harvey Norman and JB Hi-Fi here. You go to Best Buy. You see that i7 sticker, then you see the price attached to that. People just don't know. Like a lot of people don't know tech, dude. They
Mm.
don't know tech. Period. They don't care what's inside. Like I fixed this chick's laptop up the other day. She just did not know anything, dude, and it had malware galore on it. So she was just like so thankful for that. She's like, "Oh, my laptop's 6 years old. It's so bad." I said, "No, it's actually still a quick laptop. Look what I do to it." And I literally just gave it new life. And she was like, "Whoa." And she bought me a burrito as well as a thank you. That was really good.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that's what I mean. It's all about that burrito. But
There you
see,
go.
I got that burrito, and I was happy as. But
What's your Taco Bell equivalent in Australia? What do you have
we
that's like
got
close to
Taco
Taco?
Bell. We got Taco.
No, you've got
Yeah, it's
Taco
on the
Bell in
go. It's on the
Australia.
Gold Coast. Yeah, it's a Taco Bell.
No,
It's wicked. I
dude,
go there
that's
sometimes.
baller.
Yeah, it's pretty
That
good.
is
I'm not gonna lie. But okay, back to the topic at hand, right? They go to Best Buy or they go to JB Hi-Fi and they see the prices associated with i7. Then they go on the marketplace or they go on Gumtree or Craigslist. They see an i7 machine with the same graphics card. They don't even care about what comes after the i7. They see i7, that graphics card, half the price. Bang.
Yep.
Please give it to me. They see i5, they're going to take a step back. They're going
Yeah.
to take a step back because they see that i5. And that's going to be associated with the lower end GPU, even at the retailers. So they're going to see a 1050 with an i5. Usually, right? And that's how it's all working out. So you get a cheap i7 off the used market, couple it with a new
That,
GPU, winning.
yeah.
And that's
That is
the
especially the case I've seen personally with Apple products
yeah.
because typically when you list like a MacBook Air, right, like a 2015 MacBook Air, Core i3, Core i5, Core i7. Okay, that's it. The Core i3 had what? It was a dual core hyper-threaded, I think, and the ultra low power. The i5 was 4 cores. The i7 was 4 cores, 8 threads. I think that was how it went.
Yeah.
Now it's all different. But anyway, yeah. So you see the i7, it could be a freaking 2012 MacBook Air, and it's probably pulling almost the same price as a much newer MacBook Air
Yeah.
with the same i7, and it has the same everything else in it, same storage, same RAM, whatever.
Yeah.
It could have a freaking hard drive. Nobody knows the difference either between hard drives and solid state drives, so they just see 1 terabyte of storage and they think that's magnificent, but it's a freaking moving disk,
Are these okay? So
So
when you see these ads, are these guys using adjectives? It's not
quite a
just a
number of
one.
them
Yeah, good.
in
If
the
they,
titles.
yeah,
Extreme,
that's it, man. It's got a.
like
It's not just a 1 terabyte drive. It's got a
yeah,
huge 1 terabyte.
dude, they'll use
Yeah,
words like budget as adjectives in the
yeah,
sense that like it's a much more affordable option. Like it's a budget gaming PC, whatever. But they'll use that as like a scapegoat to put the trashiest hardware in their systems
yeah,
with like no cable management whatsoever. The case, like I could have made a better case out of crap in this dumpster down the street. Like
yeah,
it's just not a good system, even for that price, even though you put the word budget in front of it. It just
yeah.
doesn't, it's not doing it the service that it frankly deserves, which is to demean itself because
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
not a
I
good
did that
system.
video on how to sell the PCs. People wanted to know what goes on. How much do you price up your PCs? I
Mm.
sold all those PCs are gone, dude. Like those 6 PCs,
Yep.
bang, they're gone, man. DDR,
Yep.
so budget DDR4 gaming PC. That thing sold the next day, like straight up.
Yeah.
Someone's message, dude, I want this DDR4 gaming PC. That's all they cared about. Like, I knew because that's what the selling point. Look at the
One of the
advantages.
things that I put in the video that you'll see Friday
Yeah,
is he was the first picture was him with the RGB remote and then the RGB in the background.
yeah,
And I said, okay, this is great. Keep this picture. People want to know they can customize it how they want. That's a huge selling point. But I would also put in the title RGB because people like seeing that when they come from a console or they come from a freaking POS Optiplex or whatever that has nothing in it, not even a discrete card. They see RGB, and that's already a huge step in the right direction for them because now they can customize it a bit more. Granted, they're buying used, so that's the way they rationalize it, right? They can at least make it look somewhat the way they want it to. So,
So, oh man, we got some crazy good content coming soon, and I'm gonna actually, now that I've talked to you about this, I'm gonna be adding more adjectives into these upcoming Xeon videos, guys. This has a mind-boggling 8 cores, 16 threads. Had to take a step back. I had to take a step back for a second.
mind-boggling.
That's it. That's my favorite, dude. Mind-boggling's like mine. You see ads with mind-boggling in it, they've copied me, man. They've copied me straight up. They've seen Tech Yes advertising
Uh,
PCs. Yeah, when I put a
uh,
2 terabyte hard drive in a build, it's got a mind-boggling 2 terabyte hard drive, enough to last you a lifetime. You know.
when I used to sell, this is the way that I talked this in a few older videos. The way that I used to finance the channel when I was buying parts
Yeah,
myself, because I wasn't getting shit for free. No, it was all sent
yeah,
from companies. I would sell the systems at a slight premium. Usually it'd be like 10% of the build cost. So if it's a $500 build, I'll profit $50 off of it, right?
yeah,
And I'll take all that money, I'll roll it into something completely different. So I built an i3 4150 system with a GTX 750 Ti, one of my first personal systems, one that I could actually afford when I was in college. And I sold that for $550. So I made $50. I built an FX 6300 system and made videos on that. Sold that for a small. Actually, that one was kind of difficult to sell for reasons that was my fault. I was kind of a noob still. But
yeah,
yeah, I would move through inventory by slightly marking up. Sometimes I had to take a small loss, 20, $30, but you know what? I got to
yeah.
move on to something else. It was more content for my channel. I could do a review on the cooler. I could do a review on the motherboard. I could do a review on the case. And it was ways for me to produce content that seemed as though I already had these company connections, when in reality I was just selling stuff
Oh,
on
so you're
Craigslist,
just
you know?
telling people, look, fake it till you make it. It works, guys. Is it,
No
yeah,
one at the end of the day is
yeah,
going to really know how you're getting. I mean, you have to like when a company sends you stuff legally here in the States, you're supposed to disclose that it's sent, that you didn't pay for it. Because depending on how you depreciate inventory or even count inventory, it's some people look at it as payment.
it should be
And
irrelevant. It should be like it depends. Like, yeah, I guess you need those protections in place, but I mean, for
yeah,
my viewers, they know like I just review stuff. I don't care. Even if
yeah,
like
oh yeah, no, that's exactly, yeah,
even if like people were to pay me for whatever, I
yep,
wouldn't care. I would
yeah,
never let my it's you're giving out people recommendations. How do you sleep at night if you're misleading people? And
right.
I
No,
can't.
that's your reputation.
Yeah, I
It takes
can't. I
five
can't.
years to
I
build
can't.
integrity and 5 seconds
Yeah,
to lose it.
I
Yeah.
can't deal with it personally, man. So that's the whole reasoning is behind it, man. It's a me thing. I can't mislead. I
Yeah.
hate it. It's because I would never want someone to do that to me. So it's treat others how you treat yourself, sort of thing.
Yeah,
And
exactly. And it always
yeah.
comes around, man. It always does.
Oh, what goes
I
around
don't know
comes around, brother.
why. There's no scientific explanation for it, but that always
I'll
comes
just
back
get that
around.
Corsair logo on while I'm reading this last question. Yeah, but let us know if
With
the
that product placement,
well, let
huh?
us know if this mic's any good because I told Corsair I'd check out the Virtuoso on
It
a
sounds
live
really good, dude.
stream. Yeah, I'd say look, I'll test it out on a live stream. If people like it, then we'll keep using it. So if it's good, I like. I mean, I like it. I move around and my voice is consistent wherever I go. We got a question. If you had the option to pick a 9900K or a 3900X, which would you pick?
Uh,
Cost
well,
was
it
irrelevant.
depends on why I was building the system. If I was building the system for content creation, because I'm still in the transition period between Premiere and something else, most likely DaVinci Resolve, I would choose a 9900K because it's still the best gaming CPU. Granted, the margins are definitely shrinking. Um, Depending on the luck with Silicon Lottery, it could run decently cool with a big cooler, and the IGP goes a long way in Premiere.
Yeah.
But if I was building the system to be strictly gaming and streaming, I'd much rather have the 3900X.
I
So
honestly, I'm indifferent. They're both pretty good, man. I'd say
yeah,
I'd go.
it
I'd
depends on.
actually lean for me personally. I'd lean towards Premiere Pro. I'd lean towards 9900K.
Yep.
Uh, but if I was reselling it, I'd go 3900X because it's actually more in demand than the 9900K. I feel for like average dude wanting to build a gaming PC. He sees the 12 cores, 24 threads. He's like,
Yeah.
"Yep, I want that."
Yep.
That's 8 cores, 16 threads. They don't really care about
Yep.
anything else. They see all the game cache. They're like, "Game cache? What? What? What is this? This has game cache." And people were like, people at the AMD event were sort of critiquing AMD for using game cache, and I said, no, that's brilliant. Like the fact that they just call it game, like it's the
That's
same
what they
thing.
call it.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It's the same thing. But hey, call it game cache, man. That's sales. So like,
I
good
really
on you,
think
AMD.
that I think that the real comparison though, like we were talking about a bit earlier, 9900K to 3700X, because that's where you save money by not really foregoing much. So yeah, if you spent what's the 3900X is 470, 480, around
Mm.
500 bucks. So 3900K is usually around that price too. And you're I understand why the question was worded that way. It makes total sense to me. But I think most people are looking at, okay, how much money am I actually spending to get said performance? And when the 3700X and the 9900K are pretty darn close in almost everything, then saving money makes more sense to me. So I would choose 3700X. Most people are going to be perfectly content with 8 cores, 16 threads. Most people will not even know what to download to fully saturate 12 cores, let alone 24 threads.
Yeah.
So the use case also, there's also a use case argument in the sense that most people, general consumers, aren't even going to know the difference. If you're just running Chrome tabs and even streaming and gaming,
Mm.
and you had to like somehow subliminally figure out if the CPU in your system was a 3900X or a
Yeah.
3700X, which is it? They're not going to know. It's going to be a freaking wild shot in the dark guess.
All right, dude. I've
And
video idea. I've got this. I called it. Okay. I'm gonna change out someone's AMD rig with a 3600 for their
uh,
3900X, and we're gonna see after a month if they notice a difference. Like, I'm just gonna
that's a good idea.
yeah, clickbait it as well. I covertedly like swapped out and then put like, and we covertedly changed his
Yeah.
CPU to a 3600. Did he notice anything? Guarantee he won't notice
No,
nothing.
no,
So
they won't. No,
yeah,
it's because most people don't do things
yeah,
to justify the higher core count chip.
yeah.
So yeah, no, that's what I've been preaching for a good while, ever since Ryzen started pushing that higher core count game. I mean, it's good, but is it really feasible for a lot of people? No, they're going to be just happy, just as happy with a Ryzen 5 system. Spend the extra money on a better graphics card, where you will see an actual performance jump in the games that you play,
Yeah.
and you'll be much more happy. So
All
even
right.
even streaming, multitasking.
So yeah, that's about it. We're gonna close this down, and thanks for tuning in, everybody. This is Tech Something, and yeah, let us know. We're back live streaming. Basically, I promised for a
Yeah.
long time we're gonna get live streaming. People have been like, "Yo, you got to start live streaming again."
Yeah, we've been talking
And
about this for months, dude. Yeah,
ugh,
this is months in the works.
yeah, so you had a kid, and
Yep.
it's been really busy and hectic. I've been trying to just get back on track, man. Like New Year's, I got back into it. Hit me hard, dude. Like after
Hmm.
December, December was a massive month, massive, and it hit me really hard. Whoa, first few days of that month, I was just days and like just dawdling around this studio, just not knowing what I was doing. I was like, oh, I need to just jump on the couch, watch some Star Wars. And that's what I did. So straight up, watch some Star Wars, and then just chilled out. Back on track now though. Things are firing up again. The tech, yes, rhythm is firing up 100%. So stay tuned for that content. Sub to my boy Greg. He's back on track. He's going for new
Yeah.
heights. Everyone's jumping to new heights. So 2020 is the year to make it all happen. And yeah, so yeah,
That was a beautiful soliloquy. I love that. You need to end every live stream
yep,
with something like that.
yep. So
Just off the cuff.
all right, there we go. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time to episode 2 of Tech Something. And thanks, Greg, for coming on. And
Yeah. Thanks for having me, man.
all
Appreciate it.
right, peace out for now. Do you want to take it away? Do you want to say peace out for now? Bye.
Oh yeah, I'll try my Aussie accent.
Yeah, no, do it.
Peace out for now, boy.